Hello, everybody. So this is a quick overview of GLP-1s and Novo Nordisk crashing today. So on this channel, of course, I cover megatrends. I cover stocks within the megatrends, and there's no denying that GLPs have been an outstanding megatrend. Look at the performance of Lilly. It's been a phenomenon. So it fits squarely within the theme of the channel. And of course, HIMS, a lot of the run-up at HIMS stock, a big stock that I cover on the channel, is due to the GLP-1s. So sometimes I think it's a good idea to look back and look holistically at the market of these GLP-1s, what they are, what these stocks are, and let me get started with Novo Nordisk. So Novo Nordisk is down roughly 20 to 21% today. And of course, my first reaction, no financial advice, it's an overreaction. The market's overreacting. So it's down because their phase 3 trial for their next gen is only 20% weight loss reduction over a reference period of time. And for Eli Lilly, it's 23%. So we're talking peanuts. We're talking nothing here. So they're like, oh, well, it's a great weight loss drug. We're phase 3. We're going to release a new weight loss drug. Right? It's going to take over Ozempic. It's going to be the next gen Ozempic, if you will. They're going to release it. Well, it's 20% over 68 weeks, while Eli Lilly says they are 23%. We're talking about minor differences in my view, but the market being the markets, it's entirely overreacting. Also worth noting that their trial, if you look at the way they report the study, there's an issue with effect sizes and how long people take the drug, and some of these effect sizes, some of these results may be explained by the fact that less people took the drug for a long time. It's all a mess. The market reacts on the headline. This is in headline news, and this is not what I want to talk about today. Today I want to talk about GLP-1s in general, GLP-1s holistically. So what are GLP-1s? Well, GLP-1s are kind of a holy grail that the health field has been trying to achieve, which is, how do you get people to lose weight? It's been an endeavor, a human endeavor, an endeavor of the West for the past 70 years. People have been wanting to lose weight as soon as, we were well-fed and had no issues eating. And so GLP-1s work, the way they work, this is not a drugs channel, but they work by suppressing your appetite. They do some impact on the control center for hunger and satiety in the brain, so they increase your feelings of fullness. They do something about the rate of emptying in your stomach, slowing it down. They stabilize your blood sugar. This is how a lot of diabetes medications work, so it's got similar pathways to the diabetes meds, and they also modify your rewards pathways. That's going to be relevant when I talk about people getting on GLP-1s for other things that weight loss in a second. You might have noticed I've covered that in a prior video, so this is me covering it once again. If you've seen the prior video, you know what I'm talking about. Historically, these type of drugs were used for diabetes. Now they're being prescribed and used for weight loss, and they're being indicated for weight loss. And it's kind of started with Saxenda, so it was Victoza for diabetes, and the Saxenda version was released by Novo, and that was for weight loss. So I think there's going to be a major wave of benefits of these. And if you want to look at the online podcast, this was back in the day. It was not 2 weeks ago, by the way. This was back in the day, back before they started attacking MicroStrategy. Well, Jason started attacking MicroStrategy. Back before that, there was this great interview that I really recommend about David Friedberg interviewing Dave Ricks, the CEO of Eli Lilly, talking about their estimate about how 10% of all Americans will be on some form, are right now on some form of GLP-1, could be 30%. And if you look at analysts are saying this market could be something close to $150 billion a year by 2030. And in my view, that's a US figure. Pretty sure it's a huge market. It's going to be a huge market if it's going to be 30% of the U.S. population on this, and then you have even bigger markets. Europe, that's going to be a market, but they have issues with reimbursement with the health systems. India is going to be a big market for this. This is going to be a huge market. So I'm very happy to be invested in this megatrend. I'm invested in this megatrend, of course, via HIMS, back when this slide is from a video from a few months back, these had performed about half of what MicroStrategy had performed. So outstanding performance, right? Lilly is at about 800% over 5 years. So this is stocks that are well outperforming the NASDAQ. They fit squarely within this channel. I want to talk about GLP-1s from least effective to most effective. So from most to least, actually. So let's talk about retatrutide. Retatrutide right now, it's a research peptide. Don't ask me why. It's advertised all over the internet. Plenty of websites try to sell you a research-only version. You can also buy a peptide synthesizer on Alibaba, and some people ship that, and they just copy the molecule. Go figure. I don't know, and this is like an example of these websites. I don't know what's going on in this field. I have no idea. The point is, this seems to be the next gen GLP-1. There seems to be like there's going to be a very high demand for it, and it's currently under later stage development by Lilly, and you have people who are trying their best to get on that trial for some reason. Right now, the best manufacturer, quote unquote, of these GLPs is Eli Lilly, and they have Zepbound, and that's the molecule tirzepatide. That was the news yesterday, and it's called Zepbound for weight loss, Mounjaro for diabetes. If you're in the US, you may see these drug names, plastered on the highway, on billboards near the highway, trying to get people to sign up for these $2,000 a month drugs. These drugs are expensive. They own the patent. Of course, Lilly owns the patent, and there is no shortage. As of yesterday, per the FDA, there is no shortage, so you're not allowed anymore. You have until March 18 to compound it. You're not allowed to compound it anymore past March 18. And by the way, that one is not going to hurt HIMS because HIMS never sold it. And that's why I was mad in my video yesterday. HIMS never sold that one because the shortage was apparently less bad for that one. And it's understandable. It's because it's more expensive. Then you have Ozempic. Ozempic is slightly less expensive, also slightly less effective because it's a single action pathway. Zepbound is a dual action pathways. So semaglutide is what HIMS makes money on, right? About 10% of the HIMS revenue is based on weight loss drugs. It's the highest growth segment of HIMS, and this is what a lot of people compound under an emergency authorization right now. And Novo is the maker, Novo a manufacturer, Novo is the stock that is down today. It's currently still in shortage in the USA, as highlighted in my video from yesterday. If you go on FDA website, you type semaglutide, currently in shortage, which means that compounding pharmacy of this compound is currently allowed. HIMS sells it. If they were to decide to stop it, my estimate is 5 to 6 months. They would have to stop it after 5 to 6 months after the FDA says it's not in shortage anymore. And then you have what I call the savior, the savior for HIMS and all these compounders, which is the generic. The generic GLP-1 is liraglutide. Generic is available. The 6-month generic exclusivity is ending late December. It's ending just about now. And then in the first half, hopefully Q1 for HIMS, in the first half, there should be an HIMS generic for liraglutide, and that's the early GLP-1. That's why it's off patent right now, because it's one of the earlier ones, was developed by Novo, and the only problem with this is, of course, it's less effective, and they're all ranked by effectiveness. But keep in mind, we're talking about percentage points here, and it all depends how you report your statistics and how you report your data. It's still a GLP-1. The problem is that it's a once daily GLP-1, and I want to point out there is also perhaps the elephant in the room out there, which is this company. This company is called Viking Therapeutics. So they're working on a pill version of a GLP-1, and a lot of people are very hopeful, and this company could really throw a wrench into that entire marketplace if they were to develop a pill GLP-1, because even though it seems like a lot of the population has gotten okay with injections of weight loss drugs, you still have a share of a population that is having a very hard time with these injections. That's why HIMSS, in the 10% of HIMSS, their 10% weight loss revenue, a lot of it is metformin. A lot of it is metformin, kind of the OG diabetes drug, which is about weight loss. But if they do a pill version of that, the pill version of that seems to have a larger addressable market, because I can't remember the name, but there's a phobia about injection, and some people have it. And of course, if you have that phobia about injection, people just don't do it. You can see liraglutide is also sold by LifeMD, for example. You can see that right there. LifeMD, by the way, sells a compounded version of tirzepatide, but go figure, LifeMD was barely down yesterday, even though they were impacted by that. HIMSS wasn't impacted by that. HIMSS got the brunt of the drop was on HIMSS. So go figure. Anyways, moving on. GLP-1s, they seem to be a much bigger story beyond weight loss, and this is where, I forgot to put Brian Johnson. I was going to put Brian Johnson's tweet in there. He's now testing it for longevity and reviewing the evidence and saying this is going to be good for longevity. So you might have a whole array of newcomers, new people who are now taking it for longevity. But people take it for all sorts of stuff. One of the bigger ones, and if you go on Reddit and if you go on all of the websites, there's a lot of off-label claims, perceptions. This is people's experience. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm no doctor, but some people say, it cured my alcoholism. I have 2 drinks and I get no buzz. Some people say, I want to throw up. If I'm on GLP-1 and I want to have a drink, I want to throw up right away. It makes me sick. I have a worse hangover. I've lost desire. You even have people talking about less impulsive shopping. Maybe a more undesirable effect is a decreased libido. This is where the opportunity for customized pills may come from HIMSS, because you may address some of the side effects by compounding a custom medication that may downplay some of the downsides, that may mitigate some of the downsides. So anyways, this is I'm only talking about this from an investor's standpoint and an entertainer's standpoint. Again, no financial advice, no medical advice. This is just the state of the market right now. So a lot of people love these drugs. They regularly trend on all sorts of social media. They are part of popular culture. They're part of popular culture, and popular culture largely influenced by Gen Z and millennials, people under 42 or 43 years old, something like that. They have a large influence on the popular culture. And, this is all about rent-seeking. If we talk about healthcare, or traditional healthcare, we have to talk about rent-seeking. Gen Z and millennials, in general, they really don't mind too much rent-seeking. Paying $250 or $350 for a water bottle at the airport, no problem. Total rent-seeking, 95% margin, but they really don't care. I remember back in the day in the US, there was a whole story about appetizers and people paying up for appetizers. Dropping $20, dropping $2, overpaying $2 or $20. They don't seem to have as much of a problem for rent-seeking, but boy, does Gen Z and millennials have an issue with rent-seeking when it comes to an $1,800 to $2,000 a month drug, and they get very upset. And if you go on Reddit, and seems like they say, we don't care about the shortage. It's not about the shortage. It's about we can't afford it if it's $1,800. Ozempic, the branded version of Ozempic, is $1,800 a month. We can't afford it. We want the compounded semaglutide for HIMSS at $165 a month because we can afford that. We can't afford that. So rent-seeking is just on its way out. The way of doing business of the 20th century is on its way out. And this is a good transition to my next point about Andrew Dudum Street, talking about access to healthcare. And this is a classic debate. This is the classic 20th century rent-seeking debate. I have the rights to charge whatever I want for my product versus the what I think will be the classic 21st century debate, which is I gotta cut the price, I gotta go all in on customer satisfaction. The customer is king or queen. The customer is all I care about. 21st century thinking is I'm going to do everything I can to please the customer, to charge as little as I can for the customer, and in exchange, what do I get? I get a monopoly. In exchange, I get a monopoly. You have the story, soon to be realized. Most people don't realize that, but I think that will be the story of Tesla. You have the story of Netflix. Netflix is on its way to a near monopoly on linear television. You have Spotify, well on its way to a monopoly on music. The idea of a 21st century business is you cut the prices so much that you end up being a natural monopoly because your product is 10x, 100x, 1,000x, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, 1 order, 2 order, 3 orders of magnitude better. That's how you disrupt. But in order to bring that disruption, this is, I think, I'm paraphrasing my view of this is that yeah, if you want to achieve that, maybe a gross margin of 80% is enough. Maybe a gross margin of 60% is enough. The problem is, NVO and the like, they want probably on that product line, they probably want a 97% margin because, well, they likely developed that product with perhaps too much staff, too little AI, too much administration, too costly. It costs them a fortune to develop these drugs, and they wanna make a return on the cost of developing these drugs. But the costs of development, if we know anything about, say, the latest Nobel Prize in chemistry, this 39-year-old Google engineer, I can't remember his name, if we know anything, is that the cost of developing new drugs, the cost of developing intellectual products is going down like crazy. It's absolutely going down like crazy. And so, you're going to have some friction with rent seeking because yeah, making a generic used to be a special skill. It used to be the Teva pharmaceutical things. And now, Dudum, with the company that he bought in Los Angeles, is like, yeah, I'm just going to make liraglutide. It just doesn't cost nearly as much as it used to cost. And if you think it still costs a lot of money, I suggest you update your tables on the cost to 2024, not 2022. Again, when I was looking at these these peptide machines where you can just literally print them on Alibaba, the cost has gone way down. The cost of healthcare tech is going down so much. They're working on X-rays on phone. You can have the camera on your phone in maybe a decade or less is going to be able to do X-ray, and you can just scan yourself. Well, a medical office, years ago, an X-ray, that was $150,000. Now they're working on having that on the phone. It's the same story. And so you have the speed of law, which gives you a patent of 21 years. But what if the cost of development of these drugs has dropped by 90%? Well, that's why you have friction. And maybe you're going to have a company who's going to develop an even better GLP, and maybe they will undercut. And if they do undercut, well, typically what happens is you get a monopoly. Right? That's what happened to Spotify. That's what happens to YouTube. That's what happened to all of these modern day companies. It's the 0 to 1 playbook. It's the 0 to 1 book. Rent seeking is dead. I hate to say it like that, but at least that's what I think. Hey, that's my channel. I'm celebrating. Thank you for 14,000 followers. So anyways, and I obviously try to run away from firms who engage in rent seeking, and I run towards firms that are all about trying to create a natural monopoly really, really, really quickly by overwhelming customer satisfaction. The story of Amazon, the story of Google, the story of Apple. So anyways, valuation. Let's finish with the valuation. You know what I'm going to say? HIMS still looks the cheapest at $26.72. It still looks the cheapest. It grows faster. It has a less good gross margin. Now, granted, NVO and Lilly have slightly higher gross margins, but don't forget that they're diversified firms and they are, this is just my view. No financial advice, but they are bloated firms. It's look at the revenue, look at the revenue per employee of NVO. It's $560,000. The revenue per employee of HIMS is $1.28 million per employee. Lilly's better at 0.95, but Lilly's the best pharma or like old world pharma stock in the field of GLP-1, and they still don't break $1 million. You know that many of the companies I invest in on this channel, they easily break $1 million in productivity. And by the way, that million per employee in productivity, 1.28 million of productivity per employee, we have to adjust that for the growth, right? 53% growth. I actually think that's a lowball growth here. I think they will grow faster. All three of these companies achieve a rule of 40. This is not surprising given how profitable they are. But granted, Novo and Lilly are more in the EBITDA margin phase. HIMSS is more in the growth phase. The rule of 40 is when you add revenue growth to economic profit, what I call economic profit. It's not GAAP, it's not what accountants think, it's what I think is a good proxy for the cash, and I think EBITDA margin is the best proxy for the cash, and it makes it more comparable. You compare the stocks much more. So Novo is much cheaper than Lilly. If you have to go, no financial advice, but if you have to go the traditional route, and you got to buy an old world companies, Novo I find much cheaper than Lilly. Lilly is very expensive, and they both have to deal with the fact that Viking Therapeutics may be throwing a wrench in the market with a pill that has better results. Now, in the case of HIMSS, I think it's a different story. In my view, it is my hope that HIMSS will just keep going the way of trying to be the cheapest, trying to be cheaper without insurance than what it costs you to go with your insurance for the branded version. That's what I view HIMSS as in the landscape. And so I think liraglutide, and I look forward to see what development they do with the generic for liraglutide that they will develop. And next year I think we're going to have that. And I think with good marketing and with good medical follow-ups, I think they can have very positive results with this old peptide. You don't necessarily need the latest and greatest. And why? Why do we know that? Because the people have spoken. They don't want to pay $1,800. They have no interest in paying $1,800 a month. They like to pay $165. That's the Amazon effect. We've been accustomed to cheap stuff. And so that's just the way of the world. So anyways, this was no financial advice, not investment advice, just entertainment, no medical advice, no advice. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.